They say don't mess with Texas, but I guess someone forgot to tell Jesperi Kotaniemi and the Carolina Hurricanes because on Tuesday night, well, they messed with them and they end up sweeping them.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hawkeyes, also the beat writer for the Charlotte Checkers at the Calder Times, also the co-host of the Surgecast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a fun Wednesday episode for you guys. We get to recap the Canes sweeping the Dallas Stars in the 24-25 season after their 2-1 win on Tuesday night. And talking about Jesperi Kotaniemi, well, we're going to be talking about it because he is on a hot run right now over the last two games. And we get to hear from Rod Brind'Amour after the game during his press conference. But talk about an absolute game for the Carolina Hurricanes. They beat the Dallas Stars earlier this season, 6-4 in Carolina on November 25th. And then on Tuesday night, they complete the sweep with a 2-1 win. And it's one of those things where talk about digging in deep and winning this game, man. I mean, you look at the Hurricanes outshooting Dallas 7-4 in the first, get outshot 7-6, and then get outshot 12-6 in the third. The Hurricanes had 19 shots in the game, 2 goals, while Dallas had 23 shots and only had 1 goal. In terms of the face-off, 52-48. In terms of Dallas, the power play, both teams had 3 power plays. No one was able to cash in. So the 2 best penalty kill units in the NHL proved why they are the 2 best penalty kill units in the NHL. The Hurricanes did out-hit Dallas 31-13, while the Stars blocked 17 shots compared to the Hurricanes 13. Now, in the first period, while it was 7-4 in shots, there were no goals in that period. And I'll say Pyotr Kochetkov had a masterclass of a game. Gave up 1 goal, had 22 saves in the game. And it's just, it goes to show that everyone keeps talking about goaltending, but once it's like without Freddie, with Freddie, there's just those type of games where Pyotr Kochetkov just hits that next level. And you're just like, okay, this dude he's it. He is the future and he's the now, and he just does such a great job. Yes, he's given up tough goals, but every goal he has, and it just goes to show of how just dialed in he was against the Dallas Stars teams on a second half of a back-to-back with the team in front of him who, just played the Blackhawks the night before in an overtime. So you're talking like 7 periods of hockey over the last 2 days for the Hurricanes. It goes to show the merit of, even when the team, for the most part, maybe he's not playing their best game ever, Pyotr Kochetkov has found a way to steal a lot of games and keep the team in it. And like I said, you get 22 of 23 saves. You throw a nice hip check on Logan Statecombe behind the goal and just 10-bill save after 10-bill save. Like, what more can you really ask out of Pyotr Kochetkov? And just give him some props for just doing what he always does and comes into this game, just plays lights out hockey. And you're looking at a guy who just had a .957 save percentage and gave up 1 goal. Like, what more can you really ask out of a guy who now has, you're looking at a season where he's now 18-9-2 in 30 starts with a .904 save percentage, a shutout, and a .247 goals against. And people want to say that we need goaltending. He's above league average of .901, and he has a sub 2.5 goals against. I really don't know what more he could do. Like, you're asking a goalie to have a sub 2.5. There's a lot of goalies in this league who are not even under a sub 2.5. And there's some that are maybe lower than that, like what, Connor Hellebuck, maybe a couple others. I know Frederick Anderson's still well below it too, but they only played the 5th game of the season against the Chicago Blackhawks after being out since October. But like, this is a game where you have to appreciate Pyotr Kochetkov. This is a game where you have to appreciate Pyotr Kochetkov for what he did, and it goes to show that, yeah, maybe you don't want to overwork him too much. I mean, it's kind of hard to do what, Archer Urbe did, where he starts 77 games back in 2000, 2001. Goalies just don't do that anymore, and the league has gotten so much better where it's hard to go and be like, okay, there's going to be some games we're going to play as tough, but just for the fact he's 18-9-2 with that record, can't really be upset about that when a lot of goalies around the league some of them are under 900 in the save percentage and higher in the twos in terms of goals against, like way above a 2.5. So good job to Pyotr Kochetkov. Now the second period did see some goals. We got Jesperi Kotaniemi at 17:07, gets his first of the game, his 8th of the season. Just a great pass by Martin Necas, just keep the puck in the zone, gets it to him, absolutely snipes it. Beats, Jake Ottinger. You love to see it. Hurricanes are up 1-0 after the second period. Thomas Hartley did score for Dallas at 10-11 on the backhand, and it was just a massive fire drill, basically right in the crease. Pyotr Kochetkov kind of played the puck a little too far on the one side of the crease. Puck got behind him off his skate. Unfortunately, defense couldn't really box out Hartley. He scores his 7th of the season. It's tied 1-1 at 10-11 into the third period, but not so fast, my friends, as Jesperi Kotaniemi scores his 2nd of the game 24 seconds later, but it was actually a shot from Sean Walker that goes off of Jesperi Kotaniemi's body and into the goal. And as they say, they don't ask how, they ask how many, and that was his 2nd goal of the game. And the funny part, and the thing too, is he's never had a hat trick in his career. Unfortunately, it didn't happen again, but he's had a lot of multi-goal games. This was another one, and just talk about a response for the Canes, the fact that Kotkaniemi got his 9th of the season, Sean Walker got his 8th assist, and that was Martin Necas' 38th assist of the season and 2nd of the game. And like I said, just a wonderful response by the Hurricanes, the fact that you have a pretty not so great goal going from Thomas Hartley, and then 24 seconds later, you find a way to get the puck on the net, and they say good things happen when pucks go on net, and that's all she wrote. Hurricanes get the goal, and they end up getting the win. 2 goals on 19 shots. Like I said, both of them from Jesperi Kotaniemi. 22 shots saved by Pyotr Kochetkov, and the Carolina Hurricanes have really put themselves in a good position now because they are now sitting at 29-16-3, which gives them 61 points, and they still have a game in hand on the New Jersey Devils, but they are now 3 points ahead. And now they're only 8 points back of the Washington Capitals, but the Capitals do have a game in hand on the Hurricanes. But hey, you're on a 3-game winning streak. You're 6-3-1 in your last 10. Your road record is now 11-11-2. You were a sub 500 road team going into the back-to-back. You just won 2 straight road games. Now you're at 500 on the road. You're still 18-5-1 at home, plus 25 goal differential. You're putting yourself into a good spot because you're only, like I said, you're 8 back of Washington. You're 3 up on the Devils. You have the game in hand on New Jersey. You don't play them anymore for the season. But you're putting yourself into a good spot where you don't even have to worry about a wild card, because right now the wild card is split between 3 teams at 52, Ottawa, Montreal, Boston, and you got the Jackets at 51. You're already at 61. So you're already 9 up on all the top wild card teams, and you're basically 10 up on the Jackets, who are 4th on the wild card run. Like, you're pretty much putting yourself into a phenomenal spot to where wild card might not even matter again, and you don't even have to worry about falling out of 3rd in the division because you got yourself such a buffer And now you leapfrog the Devils, who've been struggling as of late. So even if the Devils do win with their game in hand, it works out perfectly to where it doesn't even matter because the Hurricanes are still going to be in a good spot. So honestly, yes, the first period, was scoreless, very low scoring. It's 2-1, but hey, you're going to have some of those games that are pretty close. It's the second half of a back-to-back. And, with all the rumors that are going on with Jesperi Kotaniemi and, what the Hurricanes are going to do with him, if he's going to be part, because there's been a lot of trades to the Canucks or insert other team here, and he's been kind of in the middle of it. So to come out and score 2 goals in this game, and then we'll talk about Jesperi Kotaniemi more in a little bit here, but it's just what a way to kind of shut out the noise and just put some goals in the net once again. You get the 2. That's all you needed, and the Hurricanes win. And like I said, now they're 29-16-3, 3 up on the Devils for third place in the Metro Division, and now you have at least a day off before you're back home on Thursday against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, we talked about Jesperi Kotaniemi a little bit in this game, but let's talk about him overall and just the fact of his last 2 games. He is right now pretty hot in terms of just being able to score 3 goals in the last 2 games. You're talking 7 periods of hockey. You love to see it. He's playing pretty well right now, and he might have just snapped a run by the Dallas Stars. So stick around as we'll go over all of that here in a second on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Olympics. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from SelectQuote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. SelectQuote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy as one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience. They've helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What sets SelectQuote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer one-size-fits-all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. If you're in good health, you might even qualify for same-day coverage up to $5 million. No medical exam is required. And it's more affordable than you think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedonNHL. Go to selectquote.com/NHL today to get started. Once again, that's selectquote.com/lockedonNHL. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. Welcome back to a segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said, we talked about Jesperi Kotaniemi a little bit in the first segment, talking about the game overall. The Hurricanes, beat the Dallas Stars. He scored 2 goals in the last 3 games, and just talk about an absolute run for him. So in terms of the 3 stars for the game, obviously, Martin Necas, third star, got the 2 apples in the game. Pyotr Kochetkov, second star. I mean, heck, saving 22 of 23. You love to see it. And then Jesperi Kotaniemi with the 1 star because, obviously, when you score 2 goals and you get the game winner in that process, you love to see it. And talking about his 2 goals. So from Walt Ruff, he said that, Ardo Cal, friend of the show, he pointed out in the postgame show the Stars were 26-0 when allowing 2 goals or less this season. And I said Jesperi Kotaniemi might have broken the streak. That's exactly what he did. The Hurricanes scored exactly 2 goals in this game. So by all accounts, the Hurricanes should have lost because, like I said, the Stars were 26-0 when only letting in 2 goals or less to opponents. Jesperi Kotaniemi, in his 2 goals, just made that 26-1. There's always that one, and they know it's Jesperi Kotaniemi. I know he gets a lot of flack for not picking up a lot of goals, and he's a very streaky player. He does make some mistakes. All hockey players do and stuff like that. And is he a 2C? I don't really think so. You can tell he's been trying. It's just, I think for him too, it's the inconsistent line mates. I think is what's kind of causing a little bit too, because you saw early in the season this year when it was him with Robinson and Nietzsche, when they were on that really hot run at the beginning of the season for the North Carolina State Fair trip, they're playing really well. And then, it's just one of those things where you start, the team starts to struggle a little bit. You see the line start getting jumbled up. He's, second line with Nietzsche or Robinson. Then it's like Nietzsche and Svechnikov. And then it's Blake is up there. And then you get Roslovic. Then he goes to the fourth line, back into the second, goes to the fourth. So it's just a lot of jumbling around for Jesperi Kotaniemi. And, his contract isn't bad. It's $4.8 million. He's still a relatively young guy. You're still talking, not even close to maybe almost mid-20s. I think it's 24, maybe 25. So you're still talking about a very young player who got drafted, joined the league at 18 or 19, as a third overall. I mean, I think just that stigma of where he was picked, I think is kind of what hurts him a little bit. If he was late first, early second, I don't think the draft would have mattered in terms of being used against him, being as a guy who got put in so early and not really developed and still trying to figure his game out. And it's maybe he's not a scorer like everyone thought he was going to be. Maybe, and I've said it before, I've written an article about it way back when I first started back in 23 with the Hockey Writers. And I've been saying it for a little bit while now too on socials or, on here. I think Jesperi Kotaniemi is that Jordan Staal 2.0 where he may not put up 60, 70 points. It might get you 35, 40, 45 points a season, but plays really solid defensively in terms of a forward and throws hits and uses his body. And you can see that Jesperi Kotaniemi does that. He wins face-offs when he can. He does throw big hits. I mean, we all know the Cal Clutterbuck hit in the playoffs in the first round last year. He absolutely just smokes him into the end boards. I really think in terms of playing style and being a more defensive forward than anything else, I think he's that Jordan Staal 2.0 player. And, I mean, when he does score, he does it in bunches, and we've seen that recently. Against the Blackhawks, he scored a goal, and then he just scored 2 against Dallas. So if you combine the overtime, which was 59 seconds, you're still talking 3 goals in a span of 6 and a quarter periods, 6 periods in a minute. It still puts him in a good spot to where while he does score in bunches, you'll take it. And it was big tonight against Dallas. Yeah, maybe, the second one off his body and it happens. Well, hey, a lot of guys get lucky. Jackson Blake's 10th of the season went off of Noah Hannifin's stick and went into the goal. Hockey is weird. Weird things happen, but hey, a goal is a goal. Whether it bounce off your chest, goes off your stick, goes off the other player's skate and goes into the goal. They don't really care. A goal is a goal, and we'll take it. So, talk about staying hot right now if you're Jesperi Kotaniemi. You get the 2 goals, and you get 3 in 2 games. And it's a lot going on for sure with him because I posted on social media on Tuesday because, looking at, because you always keep hearing the rumors of okay, the Hurricanes are in for JT Miller, maybe they're in for Elias Pettersson. Who are they going to trade for? This, that, or the other. And Corey Proman from the Athletic, he put out an article of her teams. What top prospect for each team could someone give up to go get JT Miller? And for the Hurricanes, he said Nikita Arnamonov, who's over in the KHL right now. He was the main focus of the draft, or the main focus of the trade with the Canucks to get JT Miller. He also included Jesperi Kotaniemi, a 2025 first, and a 2026 second. They'll go back to Vancouver, and the Hurricanes get JT Miller. Now, obviously, in terms of, with Miller being at $8 million, Jesperi Kotaniemi was at 4.8. They would have to retain, the Canucks would have to retain half of Miller's contract to get him down to 4, which would supplement the 4.8 that they would get for Jesperi Kotaniemi. Do I think it's an oversell? Yes, because Arnamonov is pretty good for the most part. He's having a pretty good season over the KHL. 2025 first, I really don't know what that's going to be like when, it's Eric Tulsky's full season of getting that draft pick, and then a 2026 second. I mean, okay, it's a second, in the draft next year, but a really top prospect. And Jesperi Kotaniemi, like I said, maybe he's not a world beater like a Sebastian Aho or even a Timo Teravainen, but he's still a guy that the Hurricanes gave, an offer sheet to, gave him a long-term contract. Yes, he does struggle, but when he's on his game, he's a really solid, I would say, a defensive forward, really. And like I said, is that Jordan Staal 2.0? Would I make that trade? No, because Miller still has 5 more years on his contract. He's already 31. So by the time that's done, it's 36. And you're talking, even if you cut that in half, you're still talking $4 million if the Canucks even do that. I still think there's other possible trades that could get done. I would love for them to go get Brock Besser, honestly, because I think they really need a big bodied scoring forward that could really be that guy. Because do you need a 2C? Yes, but I think a 2C is more of an off-season move rather than let's go get Brock Besser. You can throw into the top 6. He's a body, he's physical, really, balls out in the playoffs. And you could sign him to a 6-7 year deal that could match what Miller is. Okay, let's say it's $8 million for 6 seasons. You're talking he's going to be 20 by the time it's July 1st. 34. Let's say you give him a 7-year deal, a 7x8, still puts him at 35 for the same amount of money, but you're getting a winger in Besser that could really thrive for you in the top 6. And, and you got Miller, who's going to be 36 when his contract's up at $8 million. But what are you really going to get out of that? At least you're going to get more longevity out of Brock Besser than you would with Miller. Would I want Miller? I wouldn't mind it, but I still think there's probably a better trade package than Kotkaniemi, Artemonov, a first and a second. So I put that out there, but it just doesn't make sense to me. I think there's a lot of other avenues we can go and get a second line center if we really need one, but who knows what that is. But overall, though, just what a great couple days for Jesperi Kotaniemi. He's probably hearing all the rumors and everything else because it's social media and, someone's probably had to tell him at some point. But just to come out, score 3 goals in 2 games, does a phenomenal job against Dallas, and now you're riding a high with the day off, when you go, you're back home. You got a game on Thursday against the Jackets for a Metro game, who are, nipping at your heels in, with the wild card spot and with the run they've been on right now. So you love to see it for Jesperi. Great game by him. Great game, Pyotr Kochetkov. Hurricanes complete the season sweep. You get 4 out of 4 points on the road trip. You're feeling pretty good, and now you're back home on Thursday. Now, after the game, Rod Brind'Amour did meet with media to talk about the game itself, so we'll listen to that here in a second on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Like I said at the end of segment 2, Rod Brind'Amour did meet with media to talk about the game after the Hurricanes defeated the Stars 2-1. So without further ado, let's jump into that right now with Rod Brind'Amour.
Again in the past 2 games.
Well, he's noticeable on the offense, which was great. Great shot there, and on the 1 goal, and then driving the net, like being heavy. That's he's a big kid, and when you get him doing that kind of stuff, he's very noticeable. I thought that line was probably our best line in general. They were pretty solid, and obviously our goaltending was great tonight. That's the difference.
What comes down to that line in the left side? Is it kind of the work ethic of what you're seeing the past couple games, or what's?
I don't know. I think Robbie's helps. He's quick, he gets in on it, and Netchie, we know it. He's just kind of an elite player that kind of does a bit of everything and obviously creates a lot of offense. And I think if we can get KK playing like that, where it's more straight lines, I think helps. But that line was good. Obviously, I thought for considering what we had to go through to get here, it's a tough game last night, and then playing a top-notch team, I thought we hung in there and we'll take the win.
I was going to say, not a lot of shots in that first period. How did you see it open up throughout the game?
Well, it really never did. They weren't given much, and we were ahead, so we were fine with it. And then, kill a penalty, and they score right at the end of it. Like that was a real tough kind of sequence. But then next shift, we were able to get a break and kind of answer it. So that's your game right there.
A solid game from Freddie last night. What did you see? Kochetkov, just the difference it makes. Those two
well, I mean, he had 3 or 4. So it's really the same story as last night, where he's all alone in front, and he was able to shut it down for us. So I mean, that's the position we talked about it over and over and over. If our guy can be better than the other guy at the other end, we're usually in good shape.
I believe it's a milestone night for you tonight for your 500th behind the bench. So big congratulations to you on that one.
Okay, well, appreciate you saying that. I'm not sure if that's a big milestone or not. It just means, I guess, in coaching ranks you're hanging around, which is a positive.
Big thank you to Rod Brind'Amour and the Carolina Hurricanes per usual on all of that. And you gotta love Rod for the fact at the very end that Hannah Yates talks about him, the fact that it was his 500th game as head coach behind the bench. And he's just like, I guess it's a milestone if you want to put it that way in terms of coaching circles. It means you're lasting a while. It's just the fact that he's just kind of like, okay, it's more about his players and stuff like that. And that's just Rod. I mean, every time you kind of want to congratulate him and talk about him, he's like, oh yeah, no, but it's the guys that got us here, this, that, or the other, and that's just him, being a former captain, putting about the team himself over himself, and same thing as a head coach. He puts the team first, and it's just, you love to see it just for the fact that it's just, yeah, it's cool. I got 500 games as a head coach, which is awesome. The fact they did it on the night where they won, but it's kind of like, okay, it's just another game. We move on. But talking about Pyotr Kochetkov really stepped up huge for the Hurricanes. As long as we had the other guy on the other side, which they did, and a guy like Jake Ottinger, you did your job. And then Jesperi Kotaniemi played a great game, played a great last couple of games, and that line has been playing pretty decently overall. So it's just whatever works, and hopefully you kind of ride that off into the next one where you got Columbus on Thursday, and you see what happens there. So it's another night where greatly take the win. Was it the prettiest game? No, I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say it's the prettiest one, but it's another close one where it worked out to where you had really great goaltending, where you only give them 1 goal. You had one guy score 2 goals, and one was off his chest on a deflection. So, and like I said, they don't really ask how. They ask how many, and there you go. That's all you needed was the 2. You snapped the Dallas Stars' winning streak of giving up 2 goals or less. Now they're 26-1 in that category. And now you're second in the division by 3 points with the game in hand. So you're feeling really good about yourself. And, you sweep Dallas, and you swept the Vegas Golden Knights on Friday last week. So you've already swept 2 of really strong competition out of the Western Conference. So you have to be feeling pretty good about yourself for the fact you took out number one team in the Pacific Division. You're talking about the Dallas Stars, who's a top 3 team in the Central Division. So you're taking out some pretty stiff competition out of the Western Conference. And the fact you did it in 2 regular season sweeps in a span of less than a week. You're talking from Friday until Tuesday. You're talking 4 days of being able to go out there and putting the best teams in the West in the loss column. And now you're 6-3 and 1 in your last 10. And you're feeling pretty good about yourself. So overall, nothing you're really upset about if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, or even the fans too. And just a lot going on. Frederick Anderson's back. There's some injuries that are finally getting taken care of. But now, of course, we got the trades rumors starting to spread because we're less than we're about a month and a half-ish away from the trade deadline. So it'll be very interesting to see how all that plays out. But you know what? It's just good to see Jesperi Kotaniemi score 2 more goals. Gets 3 in his last 2. Pyotr Kochetkov played a great game, and heck, now your Carolina Hurricanes Like I said, 29, 16, and 3, and looking pretty good in a playoff spot. But guys, that will wrap up a Wednesday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen of the day. For your second listen, go check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or where you listen to podcasts. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at OneTrueZach on X. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky at the Zachary Martin. I do have link shares in both my bios, where you can check out my articles at the Hockey Writers, or just go to thehockeywriters.com. You can check all my Hurricanes articles there. Also check me out on thecoldertimes.com. You're going to keep up with all my AHL content covering the Charlotte Checkers. For my other podcast, well, it's the Searchcast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For this show, well, it's Locked On Hurricanes on Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen. Subscribe, follow, leave a 5-star rating and review, because if you do, I might just read it on the show. For YouTube, Locked On Hurricanes. Make sure to subscribe, click the notifications on this show. Leave a thumbs up button. Let me know if you like the show as well. Share with all other Canucks so that they become everydayers just like you. But I hope everyone enjoyed this Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Hope everyone enjoys their Wednesday. And until next time, as always, let's go Canucks.